Back with us here on Lead Story. Let's jump right into it with our guests who've been waiting patiently. Ambassador Curtis Ward is an international consultant. He's an attorney at law and Jamaica's former ambassador to the United Nations. Dr. Maziki Thame is a political scientist at the University of the West Indies, Mona. Good evening, lady and gentlemen.
Good evening, sir. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Thame.
Good evening to everyone.
Thank you. Ambassador Ward, based on your reading, what really compelled Marco Rubio to make this trip at this time?
Well, for any new Secretary of State, you'll find he or she engaging in personal diplomatic meetings in various regions of the world. Coming to the Caribbean marks the second trip of Rubio's tenure in the region, in Latin America and the Caribbean. Jamaica is part of America's strategic partnership in the Caribbean for many reasons. Jamaica is astride the shipping lane between the Panama Canal and the United States, eastern seaboard, but the only certified container security initiative port that can handle mega container ships and break them down into smaller ships for shipping into the United States eastern seaboard. Jamaica also has been known in the past, at least, as a leader within CARICOM on foreign policy. I wouldn't go so far as to say that it is at the current time. But these are realities. Jamaica is the largest English-speaking Caribbean island. The maritime space is used for drug trafficking from South America to North America and elsewhere. Jamaica has the large bunch of immigrants living in the United States, as many as 3 million of Jamaican heritage, and of course, some 3 million Americans visit Jamaica every year. There are every reason why Jamaica would be the center of U.S. policy in the region. There are mutual security interests, and that is a driving element of this whole policy and the reason for the visit.
A lot of eyebrows were raised, Ambassador Ward, reading the piece that you participated in that was published by The Gleaner, when you appear to suggest that the U.S. wanted to make some demands of CARICOM, CARICOM's leading lights, of which Jamaica is one, that it would be best if he came, looked the CARICOM leaders in the eye, and made those demands as the U.S. looks to shape its foreign policy in this second coming of Donald Trump. Can you speak a little bit more on that for me, please?
Well, one of the things we must all realize is while there's a joint press conference by the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State, not everything discussed in the meetings, personally, one-on-one, will be spoken of during the press conference. Just to give you an example, China was, by all indications, on the agenda. China's economic engagement in Jamaica and elsewhere in the region. Yet, neither the Prime Minister or the Secretary of State mentioned China in their opening statements, in their statements to the press. China was only mentioned as a result of a question asked at the end of the Q&A session. And of course, Secretary Rubio's predecessors of the former Trump administration, Rex Tillerson and Mike Pompeo, they both came to Jamaica, and they came with the same message across the region, warning of what they call China's predatory economic policies. So we have to read between the lines. Statements given to the press are nuanced. And you may have noticed, as I did, that on a number of occasions, while Secretary Rubio appeared to be giving Jamaica a pass on certain issues. They were not concrete and definitive.
Yes.
He often used the word perhaps.
Yes.
Jamaica is in compliance.
Yes.
So we have to look at all those little things when we're analyzing what is omitted from the statements.
Hear you on that. Dr. Thame, I found it instructive that Secretary Rubio said that Jamaica is the USA's most like-minded partner in this part of the world, almost as if to set Jamaica apart, you know, primus inter pares, where its CARICOM partners are concerned. Do you think that this was deliberate, and what's the deliberacy behind that statement, if you see anything like that behind it?
I definitely think it's deliberate. We are in an election year in Jamaica, and we could read that as an endorsement of the Holness administration. But we can think about it more broadly too, in terms of the longer relations between the Republican Party and the Jamaica Labour Party. In a sense, we might think of them as sister parties. And when they say like-minded, they mean they are agreed in terms of how they view the world. Both parties would be leaning to the political right. So I think he is making that claim in the context of Jamaica's upcoming election, but also in relation to the role that the Jamaican government played in the last Trump administration on topics like Venezuela, especially on Venezuela. And I want to refer to something that Ambassador Ward just said about Jamaica being perceived as a kind of leader in the region.
Yes.
It is not necessarily that at this particular moment, because Jamaica is thinking of itself more along the lines of its proximity to the United States rather than as a regionalist. And in that frame, I'm not sure how much Jamaica can sway other governments in the region. I think the Trump administration sees it in that light as having some power to influence others, but that is not its position in the region currently.
Hear you on that. I find it instructive that only a few days ago, the National Security Minister at the passing out parade for the latest batch of police constables said to them that managing crime was important for the fact of the control of the narrative in the travel advisories issued by the U.S., and that this was an important reason for crime to continue to be pushed downwards. The big five major crime areas: murder, rape, shootings, etc. And then last evening, well, yesterday, Rubio spoke about the travel advisories and the U.S.'s action to revise it in line with the situation in Jamaica. This would suggest to me, at least, that this is something that diplomatically Jamaica has been working on. So I'm asking you if you think the statement from Rubio is to be interpreted as a sister party, the Republican in the United States, doing a favor to its sister here in Jamaica, or is it reflective of the true intention of this Trump administration to revise down the rhetoric in these travel advisories to reflect what's happening in Jamaica?
No, I definitely read it as them, giving the government a thumbs up. It's not just on crime, it's also on economics. You would have heard them say that Jamaica is a model for the region. And when we're thinking about this issue of crime, we can't help, or we ought to think about it in terms of the other side of the story. The fatal shootings by police have gone up for over 150% over last year. I think the number last year up to March 22 was something like 30, and this year it was 74. The US government doesn't have an interest in that. So, when we are thinking about it from this perspective, we would have to ask the question, why are they not interested? When historically, they've played a role in, claiming to spread democracy and human rights and whatnot. And where there is contradictory data in the case of Jamaica, they have not flagged it at all. when we think about the travel advisories and Jamaica's dependence on tourism, I remember last year one of the travel advisories mentioned crime, but also the state of our hospitals,
Yes.
the state of healthcare. That wasn't raised as an issue, I suspect, because we can't necessarily point to evidence that says that healthcare is improving in Jamaica.
Yes.
And of course, that is related to our dependence on the Cuban medical diplomacy.
Yes.
So it's difficult for them to kind of maneuver in that way. But those things are not necessarily of interest to the United States. One of the major issues that has been important to Jamaica and the Caribbean at large is the movement of guns into the region from the United States. They have not necessarily taken any positions historically that would have improved the border control as it relates to flow of weapons here. I noticed Rubio made some remarks in that vein, and certainly it would be a major boost to the region if that were to happen. I'm not sure to what extent we are negotiating or even are able to negotiate from a position of power as it relates to that.
Yes.
The U.S. defense industry is important to them. You know, freedom around guns is important to them, or the movement of guns.
Ambassador Ward, the CARICOM says it's serious about helping to resolve the security situation in Haiti. And Jamaica, of course, plays a leading role, providing Bruce Golding as part of the eminent group of persons who are trying to help the Transitional Council to get things in order politically, for that to then percolate into better relations and a better situation in other parts of the Haitian society and economy. Do you get the sense that Wholeness would have used the occasion to nudge Rubio into having the United States play a more prominent role in helping CARICOM to resolve that situation in Haiti?
Well, he would be guilty of misfeasance if he had. The reports that we have been receiving is that the U.S. under the Trump administration is backing off on assistance for Haiti. Secretary Rubio, in meeting with the head of the transitional group in Haiti while in Kingston, may be an indication that what Secretary Rubio intends to do with Haiti may be more in pushing CARICOM countries to play a bigger role. I noticed that the Prime Minister said that the Haitian National Police needs X, Y, and Z to be more effective in controlling the gangs. But he didn't say that Jamaica could provide that. So he was alluding to help from the United States, not just to help CARICOM countries to help Haiti, but for the United States itself to have an integral role in increasing its assistance to Haiti. Now, what form that assistance takes will be anybody's guess. But it must happen in order for Haiti to extricate itself from the problems that challenge that country.
Yeah.
And yes, CARICOM countries, Jamaica included, can probably do more.
Yes.
But I don't see them being able to do so without the necessary resources and the backing of the United States.
Hear you on that. And of course, if you ask the Europeans, it appears as if the U.S. foreign policy is that the countries in specific regions of the world should do more to solve their own problems rather than sit and expect that the U.S. will put boots on the ground and resources into shoring up and fixing problems in their parts of the world. That's all the time I have. Unfortunately, Ambassador Ward, thank you very much as usual. Dr. Thame, it's a pleasure as well. Thank you for sharing your time this evening.
It's my pleasure.
Excellent.
Thank you.